What's up, YouTube? We got a video from the Shaman King, you know what I'm saying? We got a video about my glorious goat, Cyclops, you know what I'm saying? They don't be taking my dog seriously in the MCU as much as they should, but this is one of them ones, you know what I'm saying? Those not even lasers, those is, what are they, like force? They're like kinetic energy beams that come out his eyes, bro. Shout out Cyclops. It's gonna be the rise and fall of Cyclops. As always, Discord community is linked in description. That'll help you stay notified every time I post a YouTube video, which is twice daily. Ref do something, which is twice daily for YouTube. And it'll let you be notified every time I go live. You can also just scroll through my YouTube videos as well as my Twitch VODs and figure out what you want to watch. Also get access to the community, get to talk to some more mods, and meet some of the people that do the art for, like, for example, my PFP. You know what I'm saying? So tap into Discord.com. Without further ado, brief out a little light. We're just gonna tap straight into the video, Tyson.
Question: if I were to ask you who Marvel's biggest poster boy is, who would you say? Probably
Iron
most
Man,
people would say
MCU.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the face of the MCU, but
What's funny about that too is, no disrespect to Iron Man, he wasn't like seen as like the poster child of the Marvel. He wasn't seen as like, he was seen as like a average like Marvel hero. Like, he had a show, right? But he was not seen as like the face of Marvel. It was MCU that did that, and Downey's performance that really took Iron Man to like a mainstream hero for most people. Because to comic readers, it wasn't Iron Man.
back in the days, Iron Man used to be a B to even a C-list hero. I mean, there's even arguments for Captain America or even my personal favorite hero, Spider-Man. But what if I told you that we're all wrong? And the biggest poster boy that Marvel had at one point in time was an X-Men. And no, not Wolverine, the leader of the X-Men, Cyclops. So with that, what's poppin' is Shaman, and today we're gonna be taking a look at the rise, the fall, and maybe even the rise again of Cyclops, the misunderstood X-Men.
Sponsor?
Hey, I know my intro might have been a little much, but before y'all decide to hang me with your keyboards, hear me out. If you grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s, you knew that that was the era of extreme. You couldn't walk down the street without a big X or the word extreme anywhere. I'm talking extreme gaming, extreme dream. It's not extreme enough, throw an X on it. X-Files, Triple X, and the cornerstone of this extreme phenomenon, X-Men. And yes, they were here before that old debacle, but during this time in pop culture, they were the thing. And it's no wonder when the team was at its most popularity that Cyclops would be the poster boy for Marvel. And if you're not understanding how big of a cultural impact that the X-Men and Cyclops himself had, you have to understand that when they would do crossovers or big promotional material.
Facts. Like, if you saw, everyone has seen like that picture of like Ryu dapping up Cyclops, and then even with Capcom, Cyclops like on the front of that joint. He was that, bro. I'm telling you.
It wasn't Spider-Man at the forefront. It wasn't Iron Man at the forefront. It was Cyclops giving the what's up G dap to Ryu. Get that we only get the Marvel versus Capcom series because we had the X-Men versus the Street Fighter game first. And the only reason we got to enjoy the Spider-Man animated series is because the X-Men animated series was doing so good. And if you want to look in a time capsule to see how popular he was, I remember when IG in 2006 made a popularity vote on who was people's top X-Men, and it was Cyclops at number one. If you want to know what Wolverine ranked, he was number 4. So there was a lot of things to show you that Cyclops was the guy. He was Marvel's poster boy. But nowadays, most people don't know who Cyclops is or have a bad perception of Cyclops. And if you're wondering what happened,
this movie.
So yeah, the X-Men movies are a thing. And I'm not about to slander them. They did give us Hugh Jackman Wolverine, thank you God. And they fleshed out a whole bunch of other characters and ruined other beloved characters and did the equivalent to Cyclops as taking Old Yeller out back. I mean, literally, they killed this man off screen. There's no respect for my boy. I mean, they did great on some of these characters. Xavier, Magneto, Wolverine, but they turned Cyclops into a straight man cuck. Being a shadow of his other iterations in the shows and comic books, we don't see a battle-tested, stoic leader of the X-Men who's down for anything and has plenty of charm and planning for any situation. We just see a whiny wimp who gets pushed around by Wolverine, which does not.
And what's interesting about this is the way they introduce him is under that same pretense. He was getting bullied, and then like he used his powers accidentally because like he was having like a headache or something. I remember he went to like the bathroom and something was going on with his eyes, and then the bully was like he just kept banging on the joint, banging on the stall door, and like due to the stress he like just opened his eyes and then his beams went up. So it's like even the way they introduced him had him like being like punched around and pushed around, and they didn't introduce him in these movies. It's like one of the first people Charles recruited, and someone Charles left like a pretty big imprint on for him to want to become the next leader. They introduced him as like this new kid type situation, new kid on the block, and then later did he like get this type of vibe to him, but it wasn't really as much of kind of stoic, knowledgeable leader as it should have been.
What happened in the comic books? If anything, Wolverine has immense respect for Cyclops and knows that Cyclops can melt him down. So seeing this betrayal of this character rubbed a lot of people whose first interpretation of him the wrong way. It made comic book fans kind of hard to fight for him, because that Cyclops in the movies isn't Cyclops. And Cyclops' popularity wasn't waning just because of the movies. He also was facing troubles at the home front, as when Disney acquired Marvel and all its IPs, as we know, a lot of the movies are still held by other peoples, even though they have now slowly started coming back to Disney, other than Spider-Man, which Sony, even though they have now.
We knew about this. Bro. We were not worried about it. I'm not gonna lie, we're not worried about it. But if you look at it, X-Men is a pretty big franchise. That's why they're not letting it go. Spider-Man is a pretty good franchise. That's why they're not letting it go. And then, pretty much, they was going 2 for 2 between Avengers. Mind you, Avengers and Iron Man. Iron Man outselling the Avengers as a whole was kind of crazy. But that's how well, I guess. I wasn't going to say bad in terms of bad, but how well the MCU kind of pushed them. But I know we have Namor, who's in Black Panther 2 now. Yeah, we got all this. But yeah, man, it's been crazy.
Now slowly started coming back to Disney, other than Spider-Man, which Sony is not letting go of that at all. And because they couldn't use the X-Men at that time, they decided comic book wise, hey, these Inhuman guys are kind of like X-Men. They seem pretty interesting. I mean, we don't want Fox to keep making money off of us and us promoting their series, so let's go full send on the Inhumans. I mean, Kamala Khan, she's Inhuman now, and we're gonna make an Inhumans movie that ends up not working, and so we just make it into a TV show, and we all know how that worked out. So yeah, Disney acquired Fox real quick and got them X-Men right back at home. We're changing Kamala into a mutant now, and with the Deadpool and Wolverine movie around the corner, the X-Men will most likely be the thing that gets the DCEU back on track. But the damage that both companies have likely be the thing that gets the DC.
Does that catch it? He said the X-Men needs the DCEU back in track, not the MCU.
EU back on track. But the damage that both companies have done to Cyclops is something that they're really gonna have to work on. Something that I find interesting during the fall of Cyclops' popularity in the mainstream was waning. The duality and the mirror of that popularity falling was totally different in the comic book, or almost a ripple effect, as Cyclops is pretty much like, hey, if you're not gonna love me as a hero, you're gonna respect me as a villain.
That's kind of or I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of
a character tired of being a child soldier between a war of two old men, the constant attacks on the X-Mansion by either the US or people that hate him, the constant racism that him and his fellow mutants face on a daily basis.
Hold on, bro, that's actually crazy.
Constant racism that
you dare call that thing, if something thing. Human? Human. This is insane, bro. This is insane. Hold on. Our arbitrary label is more important than the way we live our lives. What we're supposed to be, more important than we actually are. For all you know, we could be the real human race, and the rest of you, the mutants. Because the craziest thing about like mutant slander and the way they get so much hate is mutants get their powers naturally. They're the ones that you should actually kind of respect, because pretty much by RNG they got powers, which means you, by in large, could also get your powers via RNG, right? Versus people like Spider-Man, bit by a radioactive spider. Trying to think of other good examples. Because Iron Man built his suit, but for example, the Hulk, gamma radiation accident. These people are getting their powers in ways that if you were a normal person, you should like die. And they didn't die. And now they're like, I respect them. Oh my God, they're like that, bro. The Cap is tough. Powers made in the bottom. Replicable. People can create super weapons. You get your powers naturally, and people are saying, you dare call that thing human. I don't
him and his fellow mutants face on a daily basis, saving a world that doesn't want them to save them, even going as far as saying when the Avengers save the day, they're heroes. When the X-Men do it, we're outlaws. And coming to this realization, Cyclops and the X-Men fight against the Avengers, with Wolverine being on the Avengers side, because this whole fight is starting because of the Phoenix Force returning. And when it does, instead of picking one host, it actually picks 5, with Cyclops being one of the most powerful.
I remember. And then as the different versions of them get packed up, the power returns. It's like more power is in these 3. I think these 3 are the last to survive. These 2 get packed first. I believe that's Magic. I believe that's Namor, Emma Frost, Cyclops, Colossus. And then I remember it gets to a point where Cyclops actually cooks one of them. I don't remember who. Just so the power goes to him and he gets like a little amp.
Beings in the Marvel universe at this point. And the Avengers' last-ditch effort to try to stop him was to get Charles Xavier to, which led to one of the most craziest moments in all of comics that had people honestly talking about it for months, when Cyclops broke the chain over Charles Xavier and killed him. And even though that the Avengers won at the end of the day and stopped him, the damage was done. And when Cyclops came back, he came back with a new costume and identity, knowing that he can no longer be the golden boy working under Xavier. He knew that he had to become the hero and savior for mutant rights, while also becoming the #1 villain to anyone that opposed this ideology.
So he's like,
but hey, if you feel like you're missing out, it's never too late to jump into some comic books. But it does suck when you think adaptations are gonna do characters justice, when sometimes they just don't. But luckily for us, old and new fans alike, we might finally get to see the second coming of Cyclops and getting to see his true redemption arc. And that's a big thanks to the return of...
I watched this show. I binged it like immediately. It was hard.
Yeah, so with the return of the X-Men 97 show, the nostalgia and love for these characters has resurfaced, with Cyclops getting the most love and becoming people's fan favorite. Because this show shows off why people have been loving Cyclops. I mean, honestly, imagine the 3 poster boys I was talking about earlier. Grab some Captain America, a little bit of Iron Man, and a little bit of Spider-Man charm, and you got Cyclops. He's charming, charismatic, a great leader, a tactician, as he can motivate a team, have a smart quip, and has a really unique way of using his powers. Like, this is a man that can't easily be touched because he plans so far ahead. He has plans 1 through 100, and usually around plan 12, things are already done and worked out. I mean, this man even has a plan for in case a kaiju attack. Like, my boy's like, hey, I just watched Godzilla, and we got a plan for this just in case. And understand, he is not a Gary Stu like how Marvel's been doing lately with some of its characters. This is a character that is very grounded, with internal demons and going through his own turmoil. Despite being the leader of the X-Men, he constantly struggles with his own powers. And it isn't because they're too strong, it's a limitation that he puts on himself through his own mental trouble. troubles and has come to terms with it, saying that I don't want.
And that low-key makes him a more interesting character than a character who has everything already worked out and all of their problems are external. You have a character that balances the beauty of external conflict, but also that gets revealed to be more in depth through time and constant internal turmoil.
Want control of my powers because I think it makes me a better leader, which I guess it's working because he truly knows the inner dynamics of his team and each one of its members, knowing their flaws and what makes them tick. Like, side note, if you've ever watched Justice League Doom and how Batman had a plan to take down each member of the Justice League, Cyclops could low-key do this to the X-Men if he wanted. And who knows, he might have plans for every single one of them, but he would never want to use most of them because he loves every single mutant, no matter what type. He knows having these powers are scary. He knows that no one chose to be a mutant. He gets that most want to go back to normal and be with their families, but they can't. So that's why he's fought in the X-Men and he's fought against Magneto and why he's done so many.
And that's why he doesn't want his powers like perfectly fine-tuned like he could probably do. Because him doing that,
things, even leading up to making a
oh, that's how you 2x speed. It's like TikTok. But even though he could like perfect his powers, like he's refined them to the point where they're a tool that he can use for mutant justice. But at the same time, he's not like completely removing all of the drawbacks to his abilities and becoming an Omega mutant because he wants to show that there's relatability and that there's like behind the leadership comes flaws, but a good leader has their flaws and recognizes them and doesn't let them become something that stops them from leading the team to victory, right? And they can even take those flaws and use them as a strength, being able to recognize the flaws of his team and not come off as condescending because I know I have my own flaws as well.
Utopia for mutants. It's because he truly cares about every single one of them. And I know I'm not alone in this. There's a lot of other videos you should check out that people talk about Cyclops about, but I just wanted to throw my 2 cents on the topic because I think that Cyclops is an amazing character. I love the X-Men. I love their message and what they stand for and all their storyline. I think Cyclops is a one-of-a-kind character that can't easily be replicated. And the greatest comic book writer of all time, Stan Lee, who made the X-Men, said himself that Professor X is a stand-in for MLK and Magneto is a stand-in for Malcolm X and their opposing ideologies. And it makes me look at Cyclops as like the Black Panther movement where, hey, these two opposing ideals are going against each other, but I'm the person here fighting for my kind in the front line. And I really hope that the X-Men 97 show keeps doing him justice. And I hope with the announcement of the new X-Men coming soon, which I heard they're gonna be using the 97 show team as a reference, which means we can finally get Country Rogue, that I just hope they don't mess up, and please don't mess up on Cyclops. I really want to see this redemption arc come through. But your boy Shaman gotta know, did you like this video? Do you like when I make this kind of video? Because I can make more. Is there any other characters that you think are misunderstood or underrated? Comment down below and we might just get to it. Until then,
I want to see that again, bitch. Yeah? My name is Remy Labo. You know what I'm saying? My goat. That was a vid from Shaman King about Cyclops, the rise and fall of Cyclops. Marvel's most misunderstood X-Men. Appreciate y'all boys for tapping into this video. As I said earlier, Discord community is linked down in the description. It'd be very helpful if you join that. It'll keep you tapped in and in tune with all of the YouTube movements that we have going on in terms of gameplay. We release more like game videos, as well as we've just been coming consistent with the reactions. So, you know what I'm saying? Stay tuned. As always, you know what time to find me next. Peace.